Welcome back to the Brent Daniels Real Estate Live show. We have an unbelievable, this isn't even a show today. I'm not even going to call it a show today. I'm going to call this a full-blown course. And I have the master of nationwide wholesaling, Carlos Reyes, here with us. Carlos, how are you?
It's been a while.
It's been too long.
Right.
Yep.
It's been too long, man. Thank you, by the way, brother. I was excited, man, to reconnect with you.
Yeah.
So excited. I feel like, you know, a lot of us have had so much happen over the past couple of years that, you know, everybody just got occupied doing their own thing, right? And man,
well, especially considering you own like 15 businesses.
That got a little crazy. And I was just telling my camera guy on the way over here, he's like, so who's Brent Daniels?
Yeah.
You know, I said, brother, he's an OG.
Yeah.
He's an OG, you know, he's a pioneer, and it's someone that I have a lot of respect for, and I'm excited to reconnect with him. So thank you for the invite, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to lay the foundation here, you started real estate in what year?
So 2013 is when we started.
Nice.
But 2014 is when we got going.
And you're talking bandit signs in the trunk, going out in the middle of the night, knocking down, we buy houses, that type of.
That year was 2014.
Yeah.
I had a regular job still, and
what were you doing?
I was actually helping out a guy. He was in the small lending space. It's called CM Retail Management, and it was a guy that, you know, when I started with him, his company was doing around $8 million. I started with him around 2002.
Mm-hmm.
His company was doing about $8 million a year. By the time I left that company, I was one of the executive leaders there, and we were already at like $48 million a year.
Yeah.
So there was a huge like growth year over year.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, man, here's the thing about people like us, right? When we feel we're growth junkies, it's not so much about the money.
Sure.
I felt like I had hit a ceiling there.
Well, it's about winning.
It's about winning. It's about learning. It's about developing.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like at my job, and a lot of people that are watching or listening that probably still have a job, they probably feel the same way that I was feeling at that time, which I was like, man, I'm not growing anymore. I'm not growing anymore. They're offering me a new position. They're offering more money, but it's not going to make me happy because I feel like I've hit a ceiling and I feel stagnant.
Yep.
There has to be more, right? And that's when I came across a $10 book called Flip by Nick Reyes, right? So I always, my entire life, I wanted to be in real estate, my entire life. And unfortunately, right, when I was going to this, it was called Westford College out in Peoria, Arizona. I was going over there around 2007 to get my license because I didn't know any better, right? Oh, I'm just going to go get a real estate license and do real estate, right? Because that's what I thought it was.
What I did.
Okay, there you go, right?
Yep.
So I'm going to the school, Westford College. I'm trying to get my real estate license. And then boom, you know what happened in 2008, right?
Boom.
It's like everybody ran for the hills, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So I was like, okay, well, there's that. So I was like, okay, whatever. Then I went back to just focusing on the corporate America thing. And then I in 2013, like I said, I'm like, man, you know, I feel stuck again. I always wanted to do real estate. There has to be a better way, right? That's when I read this book, $10 book called Flip by Nick Reyes. And this book is saying, hey, you can become a successful real estate investor. Actually, he doesn't even say that. He says you can become a successful real estate entrepreneur.
That's it.
Right? An entrepreneur, and you don't need money, and you don't need credit, and you don't even need a license, right? That's literally in the beginning of the book. And I'm like, okay, so I qualify. I check off all those boxes, right?
Yeah.
And then I start reading, and brother, when I tell you that I became so obsessed with the dream of becoming successful in this business because of this book, right? Because of what I was reading in this book, when it told me, it said, hey, you got to go and put out 100 bandit signs this Friday because the city workers won't see it till next week. Right. So
yeah, they're not working in the weekend.
I didn't have a lot of marketing dollars, right? So I started, buying blank canvases, right? Blank signs. And then I started buying the wood forks. And then my wife had to handwrite these signs on Wednesdays. And then Friday at 11 p.m., I would take her 2008 Nissan Rogue, put all the signs. I got a picture everywhere of that. I put the signs in there.
Tank top and everything.
That's right. I put the signs. I got the gloves, because, first of all, it's wood and it's hard soil, etc. And I started doing that. That's how I got my first ever real estate wholesale deal, by the grace of God, because as you know, getting deals through bandit signs in Phoenix, Arizona, even back then, it wasn't very easy, you know? So God was looking out for me. I get this phone call from a landlord that was just tired of being a landlord. She had this rental in West Phoenix, and she's just like, hey, renters are about to move out next month. What can you offer me for the property, right? And I go over there, and I don't know how to run comparables, right? I don't know how to underwrite the deal. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I don't know how to print out a contract. I don't even know how to read a contract, let alone, meet with this seller and break the contract down and have them sign. I overpaid, right? I messed it completely up, but I still managed to make $5,000 on that one deal. And that was me failing forward, man.
Proof of concept.
The rest is history.
We talk about it on the show that, when you're starting out, you're working from faith. Faith that you can do it, right? You've done something in your life that you're like, I've accomplished something, whether it's you've done good in school, you've done good on a test, or you got a job or whatever, some success, sports, anything, right? And that dovetails into your faith in being an entrepreneur. And then, and it's really great and it's strong and we love it. And having faith is really important, but fact is better. Yeah. And when we cross the bridge from faith to fact, which is what happened with that first $5,000. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And that's why, we're on a crusade here and have been, you and I, for a long time, almost 10 years now, of helping people to cross that bridge from faith to fact. You know what I mean? Get their first deal, get proof of concept, because that's really, I think that there's a few stages in the process, Carlos. I think the first stage is you have to find your tribe, your community. You got to find people that are doing this business, right? And you found it within a book, right? You found it in Nick Ruiz's book. Yeah. I don't know if you were joining Reyes or if I know that you knew Sean Terry and you did some coaching, you did some other things.
I used to go to his meetups.
Right. Yeah. So you find your community first, and then, so you have to make the decision that you want to be a real estate entrepreneur. Then you go into, no, Will, it's not. You're wrong. Faith is not better than fact when it comes to being an entrepreneur, brother. Trust me. When you go into the proof of concept, you get it done. You go from faith to fact, and then you go into getting consistency. And that's when you get to fire your boss, which is really, really, really excellent. And then when you go from firing your boss to being real consistent, and then you get to fire yourself. Yeah. And then you really get things really start going when you start being able to get outside of your business and look at other investment opportunities and build assets and real wealth and not just worry about getting rich.
You just reminded me of something that I learned along the way, which is how to transform your belief system, right? So there's faith and there's fact, right? So a lot of people's belief system in the industry right now is it's they can't make $1 million a year. Sure. I would say 99% of folks think that way. I know they might dream about it, right? But here's the reality. Here's the fact, right? The belief system that most of us have early on is based off the evidence that's in front of us, right? So can I make $1 million in real estate wholesaling, right? Most of us, the evidence dictates what? No. Right? Because we've never done it. Right. So there's no evidence. Right. Okay. Now, here's the second part to that, right? Our belief system is not only based off the evidence, but our confidence in that evidence. Sure. Most of us are very confident in the evidence that's in front of us that no, we've never made $1 million a year in real estate wholesaling, right? Okay, so how do you transition that? There's only one way, which you called it, right? You're transitioning from faith to fact, which is now presenting new evidence. You go out there, you get it done, you do it, it's in front of you, you prove it to yourself, you prove it to whoever, right? So now there's new evidence. Okay. Well, here's where it gets really nice. So now there's new evidence that you can make $1 million in this business. And now what happens to your confidence in that new evidence? Of course. See? Yeah. So it's what you just said is actually factual, right? a lot of people, you know, their belief system is based off the evidence that they've known all their lives, which is what, you know, I don't know how to make $100,000 a month, or I don't even know how to do $100,000 in a year. That was my evidence for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Brother, I didn't crack $100,000 a year until I became a wholesaler. Yeah,
Really?
my old corporate job was like, you know, $60,000, $70,000 a year, bro.
So you didn't come from wealth?
No, absolutely not. No, I never cracked like I said, I did not crack $100,000 a year until I got into real estate wholesaling.
How old are you?
Well, if you go back, that was probably 2014.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what, 11 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
maybe the age of 30.
Mm-hmm.
I was about 30 years old until I broke $100,000 in a year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and because everybody wants to do $1 million, but it's like, dude, you got to do your first $100,000 first.
You're right.
You know, you got to do your first $100,000. Then you got to do your a quarter. You know, you got to do $250,000. Then you do $500,000. Then you do $750,000. You know, don't shy away from taking that hard, long road, because here's what I'll tell you. I know this sounds very cliche. Fast money builds ego, right? Working for that money, slow money, right? Hard-earned money builds character.
Yeah.
So,
well, and I've looked at it, and I've talked to, and I've interviewed over 500 people that have made, earned like real income over $1 million, and the average is 7 years. It takes 7 years in real estate to actually take home, after taxes, after paying your staff, after doing everything, and usually
not
it's like a few
revenue.
No,
you're talking about income.
Well, what's the point?
Gross
the whole point is to take the income home to your family.
That's right.
The whole point is to build your assets for your family, right? You know what I mean? It's great building a business with partners. It's great doing this. It's great hiring people and having the financial responsibility in your hand of all of all the people they're responsible for, right?
Yep.
But you gotta take it home. And,
That's right.
And every time that I've made it a priority to take profit home, my business increases. And as the business increases, we stay in business longer, which means people are employed longer.
Well, what they say, gross revenue is for vanity.
Yep.
And net profit is for sanity.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
It's true. Everybody, you know, there's a lot of people in this business that fabricate results and fabricate numbers, and it sounds pretty. Oh, we're projected to make this, and you know, I don't know why. I actually learned my lesson the hard way, right? So watch this. September of 2022. All right. We had 18 flips.
I bet.
We had 18 flips. Yeah. We lost on 12 of those 18 flips. Yeah. That means that I had to come and write a check to get rid of that deal, to sell that. I mean, sometimes it was 30, sometimes it was 50, sometimes it was 60.
I remember you posting about it. You're like, hey, listen, I made everybody whole, but it didn't feel good.
I had private money on one side, right? Specifically Travis Lewick. I don't know if you know him, amazing human being. Yeah. And I say that out loud because he'll tell you that we paid him back every single penny of the millions of dollars that we always had with them in private money. Yeah. Right. So I had to take care of him on one side because he's always taking care of us for 5+ years. Yep. And then I had to go and get rid of these houses on the other side. That was a big blow. And I will tell you this, you know, if it wasn't for the grace of God and our experience at that time, I think most companies, they go out of business.
They did.
Well,
we just talked 90%.
You just told me that. Yeah, you're right. Okay. So
literally the Batch Leads did a study in 2021, and there was 90,000 people that they found would be wholesalers or flippers. Now it's 15,000. 15,000, 75,000 gone.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of two things. One, interest rates. Two, text blasting got destroyed. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I mean, and I think you guys were even sending out a ton of text back in the day, and Vidalis and
Jared, myself, right? We were doing text blasting back in 2017.
Right.
Okay. Like before it became popular. Right. Oh, we can do 300,000 in a day back then. Right. If anything, what's that company, Roar?
Yeah.
Sal helped him put together the entire infrastructure of that. You know what I mean? I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
Right. Sal helped them out. And, you know, I remember we didn't know what the hell we were doing back then because so we were helping them put all that together, right? Optimizing it specifically for this industry.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, hey, do you think we should like sign a piece of paper with them? And, maybe there's equity or they give us back a certain percentage of, because, we're bringing them into space, blah, blah, right? And then we had a conversation with one of the guys. I don't know. I won't specifically name one of the two owners, right, at that time. And I go, no, bro, this is 17. I didn't know any better. I was a green pea. I go, no, don't worry about it. They'll take care of us.
Yeah.
They'll take care of us.
Yeah.
And then they blew up.
Mm-hmm.
And they took over the entire industry when it comes to text blasting.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sal and I, we got the shitty end of that stick.
Yeah.
So lesson for everybody out there that's watching or listening, documentation beats conversation.
Every time.
Right? Write that down, right? Documentation beats conversation. I don't care if it's your mom, your dad. Thank you, Ralph. I don't care if it's your mom, if it's your dad, if it's your brother, if it's your sister, if it's your wife, if it's your girlfriend. When it comes to doing a business deal, a business transaction,
put it in writing.
Put it in writing.
Put it in writing.
And guess what? If somebody feels offended about that,
mm-hmm.
then it's probably somebody you don't want to do business with.
Yep.
They're just not ready to do business with you. You know what I mean? Right. So, by the way, everything you're saying, I'm just like, I'm bouncing out. You're re-sparking all kinds of stuff in there from history. So
the way that we look at it, Carlos, is it's not income minus expenses equals profit. In the way that I look at it is it's income minus the profit equals our expenses. And that's what really keeps the discipline in making sure we don't get over our skis. And
I love that, by the way.
And sometimes I screw it up. Sometimes I get a little bit, I think there's a right timing in the market to do TV or to do radio or to do this and that. And oftentimes I'm wrong, but sometimes I'm right. But we look at, income minus profit equals the expenses. That's what keeps the discipline in to make sure I'm not hiring too many people, not spending too much in marketing, making sure that we're getting really good.
Sounds like the profit first model.
It is.
Okay.
It's exactly that.
Okay.
It's exactly
Michael,
that.
what's his name? Michael Kalawicz or something. It's a great book, by the way.
There's a real estate one.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah. I'll pull it up in a second.
Please.
When we're going.
Give me the name.
Let's get into nationwide. So you were doing Phoenix, and then you're like, hey, listen, I could do Phoenix. Why not expand? Why not grow?
Yep.
Did you go, hey, Phoenix is too tough, or did you go, hey, there's more profits other places, or were you just it was just, hey, this is the Eastern expansion?
Here's what I'll tell you. July of 2016 was the first time that Sal and I expanded into a virtual market.
Awesome.
July of 2016. That's almost about 9 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we're in May. Mm-hmm. So yeah, okay. Las Vegas, Nevada.
Sure.
Las Vegas, Nevada. That was our first market. I remember us dumping. We dumped direct mail there.
Mm-hmm.
We did Google AdWords, Google AdWords campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
We did $7,500. This is exactly what happened. Sean Terry ran us out of here.
Yeah.
In July of 2016, Sean Terry was spending $30,000 to $50,000 a month on Google AdWords in Phoenix.
Right.
So we had our little $7,500 budget, and we were like, dude, if we spend it in Phoenix, this guy's gonna just what is the word? Just kill us. He's just gonna crush us, right? Yeah. So we're like, okay, well, what do we do, right? And then I had already told Sal, I said, brother, I know the Vegas market very well because I have spent months at a time there with my old corporate job working. I used to live there a month at a time.
Not partying.
No, honestly, back then, I would hit the pool parties here and there, but nothing crazy, right? Because I was working, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm like, dude, I know the Vegas market the way I know the Phoenix market.
Yeah.
Why don't we go ahead and start expanding into Vegas? We were intimidated by some of the big dogs that were here,
sure.
and there's, by the way, I'm sure there's people out there right now that feel that way. They look at Phoenix, Arizona right now, right? I'm spending money in Phoenix and Texas heavy right now. You're spending money here. Sean Terry's probably still spending money here, right? All the coaches and all the gurus are in Phoenix, Arizona, so people are easily intimidated. Right? They're like, dude, how am I going to compete with these guys and their budgets? Right? We got some pretty big budgets.
Yeah.
So that's when
Let alone Doug and Andrew. They're spending $1 million a month.
Andrew Homebuyer and Doug Hopkins.
Sold, Open Door, Offer Pad.
There you go. Right. So I expanded.
Anto, can you turn down that AC to
Yep.
like 72?
I
That'd be nice.
expanded. I expanded into a virtual market out of necessity.
Sure.
Out of necessity. I just knew that I wasn't going to win here the way that I wanted to win. So Vegas was our first market, and that did extremely. Actually, Vegas did even much better than Arizona for a very long time for us, right? For probably 2-3 years, and then slowly but surely, like, okay, well, we're doing fairly well there. You know, we know how to build an infrastructure virtually. We know how to, put boots on the ground, etc. Okay, let's expand into Texas.
Yeah.
Let's expand into California. So the Southwest region was our first expansion back in 2016.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to the board here, and I want to break this down, and let's make a course out of this while we can. I think we've kind of plated up what we're going to be talking about today in your background.
Yeah.
I think the first question I have is, which market? How do you choose the market?
Here's what I'll tell you. The easy answer to that is this, right? Your backyard is probably somewhere where you should start.
Okay.
Right? It would make sense.
Yep.
You know the neighborhoods. The medium price of houses. The medium income, right? You know there's a lot of things that that gives you an advantage over a lot of other people, right?
Yeah.
But some of the things that I do look for when I am expanding into other markets, well, number one, I will not.
Let's assume you live in Columbia. Let's assume you live in Manhattan. Let's assume you live in Miami and you don't want to deal. There's just bigger budgets, or Seattle, or Scottsdale, or somewhere. How do you pick a market outside of your backyard?
Okay, here's what I'll tell you.
Or do you just go the whole nation?
No. I've done the whole nation. The first time I did the whole nation was September of 2017, and that was a disaster.
Okay.
Because
Why?
Because this is what people don't tell you. There's everybody out there selling you some kind of national, Google campaign.
Sure.
Right. But what they don't tell you is, your cost per lead is going to be very minimal.
Yeah. It's
right. It's 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks, 60 bucks, whatever cost per lead. But what they don't tell you is that you're going to get properties in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Where there's 5 people that live there. And it's not marketable. Now you're spending time, you're spending energy, you're spending resources. Right. So you're actually sinking in quicksand when you're pointing all your cannons into these deals that you just can't move, because at the end of the day, it's all about what? It's all about making money in this business. So here's what I'll tell you. Number one, I don't like to go into a market that doesn't at least have 100,000 in population.
Okay.
I like that. I like 100. Let's play it safe. You could go a little less, but we're going to just make it very general for people out there. Okay.
Real quick before you get going, because I know that, and by the way, guys, we're going to be going and pulling questions. So that's why we're doing this live. Here we go. That's why we're doing this live. So put your questions in here for Carlos, and we'll make sure that we get all the questions answered for you, so that you can go and take massive imperfect action based on the instruction that we're going to give you here today. One question that I know is going to pop up is, yeah, but Carlos, even if it's in the middle of nowhere, I can do an ovation.
Yeah.
Right?
Not if nobody wants to buy it. Here's another thing that I look for, right?
Even if you put it on the market, even if there's an MLS that you listed with, you get it at a low price, it's a no-brainer.
I just helped some people in Texas that had over 20 novations. Guess how many of them they were able to move?
How many?
3.
Right.
See what I'm saying?
I see a lot of people buying pay-per-leads for $20, $30, $50, under $100.
It's about $75 statewide.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're spending $75. You buy, you lock up 10 of them.
Yeah. 9
of them you cancel.
Statistically, across the country, the cancellation ratio for most national campaigns are about 70% plus.
Right.
David Olds, who has a transaction coordination.
We had him on last week.
Well, he said it was more like 90%.
Easy REI closings.
Yep. He said it was more like 90%.
It is. Yeah.
So see, I'm used to having an 80% success ratio,
of course,
and a 20% and under cancellation ratio.
Let me ask you this. What does it do to your business canceling that many deals?
It wrecks it in every area of your business, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
First of all, your acquisition reps are going to be very discouraged.
Yeah.
they're going to be very discouraged. But and again, they're only doing what you're instructing them to do,
Sure.
right? So they're going to be very discouraged.
Mhm.
Your dispo people are going to be discouraged. Now you wasted time, like I said, you wasted resources, right? And you're a month or two, maybe 3 max from, like I said, just being bled out and being out of business.
See, one thing that I think that people don't understand as you're building your business is if you want top tier A class, A+ class people, they hate losing.
That's right.
They hate losing.
Yeah.
They hate canceling deals.
Yep.
They hate locking up deals that they think are nonsense, or
Yep.
they think that, or even worse, they think it's the greatest deal of all time, and then it doesn't sell, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, what am I doing?"
Yeah.
Right? They want to win, and they
That's
want
right.
to win big.
Yeah, it's discouraging.
You're right.
It's discouraging.
And if you keep canceling, if you have a high cancellation, that means you're going to have a high turnover.
Yep.
And turnover is one of the hidden killers of your business, because now you got to go back to retraining and rehiring, and it's a constant revolving door. Now you have to hire a manager to do that all the time. Maybe you have one. We'll go into your team in a bit, but guys, just know that Carlos is going to give you some really good indicators of what markets to go into. So the first one is 100,000 population or more.
Or, in
Is
some
there
cases,
a max?
No, there's no max. There's no max.
Even like Phoenix?
No, there's no
Okay.
max. So I think Maricopa County alone has what, 4.5 million
Mhm.
people, right?
Mhm.
So, I mean, here's another thing I'd like to look at, right? Cash transactions.
Yeah.
Right. Are things moving?
Yep.
Are people buying?
Where do you find
Right.
this?
I'm sure. Well, there's a bunch of different platforms out there. Why don't you just give them a platform that you use?
Oh,
And you
go ahead.
got what is it? Does PropStream give you cash transactions?
PropStream,
gives you-
Deal Machine.
Deal Machine gives you
certainly batch leads.
Title companies, you can probably pull them there for free.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, right? So
Do you guys use anything to research this?
Sal does. Sal
Right.
specifically,
Right.
Sal, exactly. He's the IT guy, right? So
Right.
cash transactions is something that we like to see,
Mhm.
right? We like to see month over month how that's operating, right?
Mhm.
What if you have really high transactions 1 month and then it starts to what is it called? To dissipate, right?
Yeah.
And go down and go down and down. You were at 1 point 60,000 cash transactions, 90,000 cash transactions, and then it's like 30, and then it's like something. You got to look at what's happening.
Are
in
you
that market.
looking, how many months back do you go?
Usually 3.
Yeah.
Yeah,
90
3
days.
months. Yeah, 90 days. Yep.
So
Another
you're
thing,
pulling, it's May now, so you're pulling April, March, February.
Yeah.
You're looking at what are the trends there. If it's pretty across the board, it looks good.
Yep.
It's pretty healthy.
it gives me confidence for sure.
Okay.
I also like to not be 20 miles. Like, let's just say that the population isn't there, right? But I like to be like, I'll give you an example, like Atlanta, Georgia,
Mhm.
right? Atlanta, Georgia.
Mhm.
All right. Well, there's a bunch of little towns around Atlanta, Georgia,
Oh yeah.
right? And in my opinion, as long as you're about 20 miles or 20 minutes,
Mhm.
right? Or 30 minutes
Yeah.
away from the next major city,
Yeah.
you might want to take a look at it a little closer.
20 miles.
20 miles.
Outside.
That's right.
Yeah.
Off a major city.
Yep.
Just in case the population, because it won't be there. It might be 10,000 there. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it's like, dude, you're a 20 mile drive from Atlanta. So, things are going to be moving there too. You
Yep.
know what I mean? Right.
Yep.
This is the other thing I like to see. I like to see basic data like, top 10 growing cities in the country. That always tells you where, you can see through data where there's an exodus like California, and
Yeah.
then where there's an influx of people moving there like Texas and Florida and Arizona. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I like to see growing cities. I like that piece of data very much.
Mhm.
Let's see, what's another one that I like? I like to see trends, macro trends and micro trends.
Okay.
What's a macro trend? Okay. When Las Vegas got the Raiders,
Mhm.
right? That is the sign of a growing, healthy city,
Sure.
right? When there's a big NFL team coming to town, or
They're supposed to get an
when they
NBA
got the
team,
Knights,
too.
when they got the Knights,
Mhm.
you're like, dude, these guys just got an NFL team. They just got an NHL team.
Mhm.
Now they're about to get it. Vegas might be that's a great trend to look at,
Sure.
right? There's other big trends that are happening, like when what was it? Elon Musk moved some of his, his big plant to what was it, Austin or somewhere down
Mhm.
there, right?
Yep.
Like you got to look at that stuff because guess what, right? Big jobs coming into a city
Yeah.
means that there's going to be a lot of hiring.
Mhm.
There's going to be a lot of staff that's coming in, right? And you're gonna need to house them. So
There's got to be jobs.
that's right.
There's got to be jobs.
Yeah.
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 Love it.
So I like to look at that too. Also, you know what?
Any that you like that maybe like if somebody's starting out today, they're like, Carlos, what are like 3 markets that you really like that you would go into?
Easy. But let's do this too. Average stays on the market.
Mm-hmm.
I like to see a healthy average days on the market.
Okay.
And this you might want to even dial this down to
Explain
like
what average days on the market means.
How long a listing is taking to sell. Right. So
you list your home on the market, starts day 1. How long does it take for you to actually sell that property? Because typically in most MLSs, as soon as it goes under contract, they stop that timeline.
That's right.
And they go, okay, it took, back in the day, it was
under 30,
hour.
Under 30, okay. Right?
Yeah.
No. Well, back in the peak, what I consider the peak was probably around 2021.
Of course.
When we had a peak. Back then you were under 30 days. So any zip code, any city that was under 30 days, you're like, that's a smoking hot area, right? Mm-hmm. Now it's a little slower. Mm-hmm. Times have changed. Anything under 50 days, I consider pretty healthy.
50 days.
50 days.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Give me 3 markets.
Easy. Florida.
Which one?
Specifically, I like all of it. Yeah, I like all of it. I like all of it. If you're going to go specifics, I like Tampa. Mm-hmm. I like Tampa right now.
Okay.
I like Orlando right now. Orlando's hot. Okay. So those would be 2 specific ones. I like North Carolina a lot right now. North Carolina
whole state.
I like the whole state. Yeah. I like the what is that? The triad triad area, right? It's what is it where Maxwell used to live? What was that called?
Yeah, it's like Winston-Salem, Raleigh, and
whatever, and Durham.
Durham,
yeah, right. Charlotte, Raleigh, Durham, right. I like those. Winston-Salem would probably be the last choice there, right?
Yeah, sure.
But I like North Carolina. I like Texas. I like Houston.
Okay.
I like Dallas Fort Worth. Right, and I like San Antonio in Texas. So those are some markets right there, in my opinion, that are healthy and stable.
How many deals have you done in your career? Just so that everybody understands, when you're saying these things, it's not because you read it in a book.
It's all. I like to move
Nick
off
Ruiz
of data.
In 2013.
So as of 2022, late 2022, it was already over like 1,500 transactions.
Right.
That means
right,
wholesale deals,
you know what I mean?
wholesale deals, and flips.
Yeah.
Over 1,500 transactions as of late 2022.
How many outside of Arizona? Most of them?
A lot of them, yeah. Most of them, yeah. Most of them, yeah. I remember my record month was July of 2019. We had 66 deals. I have a video. I think I've showed it here and there. We had 66 deals, and only about, 8 to 10 of them were in Arizona. The rest of them were throughout the entire country.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick break, see if there's any questions here.
By the way, did I miss anything? Do you like any other stuff? Any other things that you like?
I think I got it, and I don't see any questions specifically about it. So let's move on. I think we covered it. The next thing that I have is how do you find the deals? What do you do for lead generation? Right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So step 2. So we have our market. Now, what do we do for lead generation?
So
let's break it down this way.
Let's talk about that, because not all leads are created equal. Okay. And we're going to get into it. Why do most businesses go out of business?
Well, I mean,
that's a very big question, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but what is one thing that you absolutely need month in, month out coming into your business?
Leads.
Well, hold on. We're gonna go from the top and then go all the way down to leads, right?
Yeah.
Cash flow.
Yeah, sure.
People run out of cash.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why somebody would go out of business.
Sure.
Right? It's cash flow.
Yeah.
Okay. So if cash flow is the silent killer of most businesses, well, then what metrics should we be looking at to make sure that we're consistently bringing in cash month in, month out, right? CCC, cash flow conversion cycle.
I love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cash flow conversion cycle. What does that mean? How long does it take? What's the time frame that it takes for me when I put out $1 and it comes back into the business, right? So with that being said, now you start to see not all leads are created equal, right? okay, let's take the cash flow conversion cycle of, let's just say, a cold call, a cold call lead, right? Well, that one, they say that from when the lead was born to contract, average is about 70 days. Think about that.
Yeah.
70 days. That's over 2 months from lead to contract time frame.
Yeah.
And then, okay, you got the contract. Now you still got to close it. So that could take another 28 to 30 days. By the time that is all said and done, that cold call lead, the cold call marketing dollar that you put out, it took you about 3 months to bring it back in.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Ours was 120 days.
That's
from the first day, from initial contact to close. 120 days.
See, okay.
Yeah. And with text message marketing, it was 110 days.
Yeah.
Cold calls, it was 120 days.
So what I mean by not all leads are created equal is because there's pros and cons to every type of marketing, right? So what are some pros should we break down cold calling first and see what are some pros and what are some cons?
I just want to set the table here because I think most people, when they're looking at their marketing, it's budget based.
Okay.
Right. And what I have found, coaching throughout the years is there's really these kind of 4 levels. You start with 0.
Yeah.
Where or a little bit where you're going to Home Depot and you're putting together your own signs and you're nailing them with
that's right.
0 to 2,000. This is hustle.
Yep, you're talking door knocking.
You're
talking
outbound.
You're talking flyers.
Yeah.
Right. You're talking handwritten direct mail like me and Jared used to do back in the day. Right. You're talking bandit signs.
Yep.
And you have enough to do some cold calling too from 0 to 2,000.
Correct.
Absolutely. Right. But you got to be the guy that's doing the cold calling in most cases from 0 to 2,000 for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, door knocking, cold calling, putting out bandit signs,
it's going to be sweat equity,
making offers on the MLS, trying to dispo other people's deals. All those things are that 0 to 2,000. And really, guys, it's really important if you're going with a nationwide campaign that you pick which strategy you want to go with, because some people are amazing at selling other people's deals. Great, do that. Some people are amazing at using technology to make offers on MLS deals. They know how to negotiate with agents.
Outreach.
They have enough. They have enough. Or they can find enough money for the earnest deposits because it's much higher if an agent's involved than if it's just the seller. And they're living in this zone, right? And that's fantastic. And you can build a business like that. It's not the way that I've built my business. I like going direct to owner. I like it off market, and I like getting these opportunities that nobody else knows about because, in my opinion, they're the bigger deals, the better deals, and the deal of a lifetime. The whole deal of a lifetime comes around about once a week. And it does if you're going direct to seller.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So with this budget here, this is hustle season. In here, you can get into some mail. You can get into some PPL. You can maybe a little PPC. It depends. But for the most part, you can start getting some inbound. Here, you can really start getting into some PPC and some more mail or maybe even some radio or TV here. And then here, you usually pick a really big marketing channel.
Here's a metric that everybody needs to look out for, right? Can I see that real quick? See, here's part of your challenge, right? See this here?
Yeah.
Right? Most wholesale companies across the entire country, their CPD, cost per deal, it's going to be anywhere from 2 to 4K. Okay. So no matter what you're doing, right? Like example, if you're in California, which is a tough market, it's a tough market because it's big paydays, right? Your average wholesale fee out there might be 50 grand versus your average wholesale fee in San Antonio might be 12.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in California, over and over and over, I would say since paying attention to the California market, if you're doing just Google AdWords, PPC out there, right? It's about $5,500 for you to get a contract, for you to get a deal.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So keep your cost per deal, keep that in mind when you're distributing or exercising all these different marketing channels and budgets. You know what I mean? That at the end of the day, everybody's looking at, okay, what's my cost per lead? What's my lead to contract conversion ratio, right? What's my cost per contract? Because just because you get a contract doesn't mean that you actually sell the deal and make money, right?
Right.
And then it's like, what's my cost per deal, et cetera. Everybody looks at all these different metrics, but at the end of the day, this is the one that's going to determine a lot of your progress right there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So if you're going nationwide, And this is just you. You're going out there. You're starting with zero, Carlos, right? Or you're kind of in this right. You're kind of in this space, maybe right here. What do you do to get leads now today in kind of second quarter of 2025?
If I'm brand new,
Yep.
It's just a bunch of sweat equity, like you said, man. $0 to $2,000. I know that I can probably squeeze out one deal a month out of that.
Okay.
And that's okay because it's a good start.
Right.
It's a good start.
Yeah.
0 to 2,000.
But how would you do it? Like what?
Okay, easy. What I'll do is, first of all, I got to get a CRM.
Yep.
Okay. That can cost you anywhere from $100 to $200-$300 a month, whatever that is. Right. I got to pull some records. Okay. Excuse me. I probably will pull.
Yeah. What would you pull?
Well, before I get into the actual list, right? I would say 10,000 records should last me about 30 days.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'll pull about 10,000 records. Then I got to skip trace those records. Yep. That costs money too, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Then I got to get a dialer.
Yep.
Okay. What's the one that just switched over? It used to be called, now it's called Ready Mode.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Ready Mode. Right.
Okay.
So get a dialer, go to get Ready Mode.
Yep.
Okay. That's costing me about $120 a month. Right.
Okay.
And I'm dialing. Well, now when it comes to the list, here's what you need to pull. You should pull every tax default for sure, because it's not going to be something crazy.
Yep.
Pull that. Pull every pre-foreclosure, right? That's not going to be crazy. Maybe a couple thousand records of that. But here's where you're gonna have to make a hard choice, right? Because there's pros and cons to owner occupied, right? And then absentee owner.
Yeah.
There's a hard choice there. Why? Because you're gonna get a lot of conversation when you pull owner occupied. You're gonna talk to a lot of people, but the motivation isn't gonna quite be there.
Right.
Think about it, right? You're trying to buy a home from someone who lives in the home. So there's emotional attachment and all kinds of different things going on there.
Plus there's the lagging effect of they have to find somewhere else to live.
There's a lot of different moving parts, right?
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to absentee, right? Most of these folks, this is a secondary home, and in some cases, this is a home that could be a burden to them because, they go once a year or something, right? They're tired of paying the taxes. They're tired of maintaining it, etc. So I believe that you should probably go, I would say, after you pull tax default, after you pull pre-foreclosure, right? Maybe do like a 70-30.
Yep.
Like a 70% absentee, and then the 30% would be owner occupied.
Are you with these lists of tired landlords and owner occupied? What other filters are you putting with that?
I like to. Well, there's a couple different ways you can filter that out, right? You can go equity, right? You can put 20% or equity. Or more, right?
Like 20% or more?
20 or more.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Back then you can get away with something a little different. Right now, I would say bare minimum, you got to be, I would say 20%. I do like to pull that. I personally don't like to pull right now. Me personally, I don't like to pull condos, and I don't like to pull 55 and older. That's just me. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't like to pull mobile homes that if they don't own the land.
Sure.
So there's a lot of, I get rid of, commercial, multifamily, all kinds of different things, but I go single family residential, 20% equity or more. And I like to stick to minimum 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because, 2 1s are a little tougher to move,
Do you care about the age of the home?
Not entirely. Like, I'll give you an example. Phoenix, I'd say, 1950 and moving forward. Yeah. But you can even go more if you want like cookie cutter homes, 1990 and newer would work for you. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. And so listen, guys, right here, 10,000 records and Ready Mode. So at Deal Machine, you get 10,000 records, free skip tracing. So that's for $150. Ready Mode's, what'd you say, $100?
The dialer, about 100.
So you're looking at a budget of $250, right? Does
so
that and CRM?
Let's just say CRM's 100.
Okay, so $350.
Then Ready Mode's 120. So you're at 220. Okay, and then I don't know what is Deal Machine? Okay, 370. Boom.
So how would you find 370 if you don't have it?
go Uber, dude. Right? Like, you'll make that in 2-3 days. Just Uber. You know, there's so many ways to make money. You know, I mean, dude, you got people. Ryan Pinette out of Vegas was flipping couches at one point. Go find a hustle and go.
I sold my Nintendo Wii.
There you go.
I sold my flat screen. I donated plasma from my blood to afford the dialer that I had, Mojo dialer,
back in the day.
And that was just to like kind of get my head above water. Like I would do anything to scrape by
but that's why you made it.
Yeah.
See, most folks, unfortunately, you know, people that are watching and listening, you know, what are they willing to put on the line to make this dream come true?
Right. And I will tell you, listen, it could be easy depending on your credit score to get some credit cards, to get some easy ways to put stuff on debt. My advice would be make money and then invest that money. Don't go into debt for this like crazy, because it's just going to put you like underwater a bit. Do you have any advice on that? Do you care?
No, here's what I'll tell every person out there. Like, this is all great, right? And this is very practical. But what people don't tell viewers and listeners and people that are, you know, trying to make it in this industry is you need to become the absolute best acquisition person that you can become,
right? Or
else none of this is going to matter.
That's what we're getting into next, which is sales process.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So now we've got a conversion. We've got to be able to convert these leads.
That's right.
So we've got our market, we've got our marketing channel, we're starting to get some leads. Now, what is the sales process?
For me, it's very simple. I'm going to keep it down.
And this has really been this is your zone of brilliance here in your business.
I don't have a
genius.
I don't have a 15-page sales process. Right. I don't have a 10-step sales process. Right. Mine is 4.
Okay.
Yep. So number one, right? Yep. Is contact.
Yep.
What does that mean? Let me
actually talk to them.
Well, the initial
talk to people.
That's right. Right. So the initial impression over the phone, wherever it is, right? Boom. When you come into contact with the seller, right? What does that sound like?
Yeah.
You know, are you putting your best foot forward?
Sure.
You know, do you have a smile on the other side of that phone?
People
you know
can
what I mean?
feel it.
That's right. How's the energy?
Yeah.
Are you genuinely interested?
11% of human communication are the words we use.
There
11. The rest of it is our body language and our tone.
Well, and
Isn't
again,
that wild?
Here's what I'll tell you, right? Your first 3 seconds will buy you your next 30 minutes.
That's right.
You know, that's why this is so important.
Yep.
You know, number 2, where people should be spending 80% of their time with the homeowner is rapport building.
Yep.
Right here, right there.
Yep.
So here's what you need to know, right? People do business with what? People they like and they trust.
That's it.
Okay. This is where that happens, right here. Okay. You can't ask the tough questions if you haven't earned their trust.
Right.
Right. And for you to earn their trust, you got to be actively listening.
That's right.
You got to be actively listening. You got to be, you got to be, here's what I tell people. To be a great acquisition person, right? You have to, number 1, be a people person, right? You got to love people. You got to have empathy for people. But number 2, you got to be a problem solver. You got to have the ability to solve problems.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep, I got
right?
it. Yep.
So there you go. Number 3, here's where negotiating happens. Negotiating.
There you go.
Right? So don't go here unless
100%.
Unless you're all dialed in there.
But Carlos, they go, hey, listen, I'm not telling you anything. You called me. You want to make an offer on my house. How much will you give me?
Well, here's what you got to start asking different questions, right? See, too often everybody in the industry is quick to talk about the house.
Right.
Everybody sounds the same.
Yep.
Right. You should ask a question like, well, Brent, you know, if you don't mind me asking, right? You know, what's going on? Why are you looking to move? Why are you looking to sell the house? Right. See, that's where you got to start. Everybody's too focused on the transactional stuff instead of the people, the personal stuff that's going on in their lives. You know what I mean?
In the coaching and training that I had as a realtor, The number one question they threw out was, well, if you sell this home, where would you go to next?
Oh, there you go.
Right. And when would that be?
There
right?
you go. See, yeah.
And so people are kind of like, you know, it's not aggressive. It's not saying why you. It's not like hitting him between the eyes. It's just like, well, yeah, well, I don't live in that house. It's a rental house. Oh,
yeah.
Are your tenants treating you all right?
Well,
how long have they been there?
See, those are the questions you need to be asking.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody.
So that's one for you guys to use, you know.
Everybody's too quick to talk about the deal, to talk about the numbers, right? No, ask them what's going on. Right. See if there's real motivation there.
Yeah.
You know, because if there isn't, right, there's two things you need to make a deal happen. You need equity in the house.
Yep.
Right. And then you need real motivation. Like someone that is going to get a deal done. Now it's a matter of, are they going to get that deal done with you?
Yeah.
Or with Brent or with Sean or with Carlos or with whoever?
Yeah.
Right. So those are the two things you're looking for is like, hey, is there equity in this house? All right.
Yeah.
Number one, okay, it seems like there is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And number two is like, is this person really looking to make a deal happen?
And I would say, in my experience, just doing it and seeing you and your team and really, you know, hearing the conversations that you hear on social media. We all put out things live and real conversations that have happened. And with my own team, it's wonderful to make somebody feel comfortable with you. But really, the point of rapport is discovery.
That's right.
Is discovery. And the best in the business really discover one question. What is your goal with this property?
That's right.
That is it.
That's it.
Because if they are on Hell Island and they have to get to Heaven Island, which is their current
situation,
state, and and this is their desired. Mm-hmm. What is the bridge? What is the best bridge for them to cross? A cash as is offer might not be the best offer. I mean, it might not be the best bridge.
Yeah.
Maybe a real estate agent is the best. Maybe them just fixing it up a little bit and re-renting it. No. Maybe them living in the property a little bit longer until, you know, they can get to a price that makes sense that they have to get to, whatever, right? But we don't know that unless we do discovery. And you can't do discovery if people don't like you.
They don't trust you.
Right.
They don't trust you.
They're not going to open up.
They're not.
They all have this force field over
They got the wall
That's
up.
it.
They got the wall up. This right here is what brings the wall down.
Right.
Right now they feel connected with you.
Mm-hmm.
They know that you're the one that's going to help them out of this situation.
Yep.
You're going to be a guide. You're going to be a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're going to be a psychiatrist. You know what I mean? Whatever. Right. Yeah. But that happens right here.
Yep.
Okay. Now negotiating. Here's what a lot of people don't do. Right. They never throw out what's called a price anchor.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
A price anchor. Everybody's always talking about MAL. MAL, maximum out offer, maximum out offer. What about throwing out the price anchor, right? So that you can set up your MAL.
Right.
What does that mean? That means that if a property is worth $350,000, right, and I'm trying to get it 50 cents on the dollar, okay, which is what, 175, right?
Yep.
Okay. Well, what if I throw out 175?
Mm-hmm.
What does Sean used to say? He's like, hey, if the seller doesn't yell at you or want to hang up on you, then your offer wasn't low enough, right?
Yeah, sure.
So you throw out a price anchor. Here's you know what they say about like, hey, the first person that throws out a number always loses.
Yeah.
It's the only reason they say that is because it never ends up on that number.
Right.
Right. So you already know if my maximal out offer, let's just say on this property, what we're running here. Okay. You want to run a real?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, 350 ARV. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So take away agency fees, closing costs, and in my case, I'm doing some flipping. Mm-hmm. So I got to take potential seller concessions.
Sure.
So I'm just going to go 0.91, which is 9%.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Where are we at now? Where's the calculator at? All right. We're going to do some real math in front of people right here. 350
it's going to be,
times 0.91. We're at 318.5.
Yeah, there we go.
We're at 318.5.
That's close.
You were close.
I was like 10% is 35.
Okay. Now, let's just say this property needs around $30,000 in rehab.
Yeah.
Okay. 30K rehab.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Now, you're gonna need. You don't have to calculate this, but you can, right? Some people calculate holding costs.
Yeah, sure.
Right. Hard money costs, but you know what? We'll let them figure that out. Okay. How about this? Most people on this type of deal in Arizona want to make, let's just say 10 to 12%.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just say 35K.
Yep.
So 35K is what the profit needs to be for the end buyer, right? So you're at 318, take away 30.
Take away 65.
Take away 65.
318, 500.
We're at 253.5 as an MEO so far, right? 253.5. So anything below that,
that's your wholesale price.
fee.
This is what you're selling to your cash buyer at.
Well, yes.
Right.
Well, hold on. We haven't calculated what you want to make on a wholesale.
I get it.
So let's just say you want to make a quick 20K. Okay, $20,000 wholesale fee, right? So my maximum allowed offer for this is 233,500. Okay. All right. Well, I probably shouldn't start there with the seller. I'm going to throw a price anchor there of 175. They're going to think I'm disrespectful,
right? And
they're going to tell me to go to hell,
right?
But then I'm going to just calm them down for a little bit. Why? Because I have built all of this, right?
Yep.
And I'm going to say, whoa, well, okay, Brent, you asked me what I wanted to pay for the property, what I was willing to pay for the property, right?
Yep.
Ideally, I would love to be at 175.
Yeah.
From the sound of it, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
That's not where you need to be.
Yeah.
Okay. So you know where I need to be. Okay. What's the verbiage? Ready?
Yep.
What is the absolute best that you can do for me?
Yeah.
Because I want to make this deal happen. I want to close this deal. And I know you want to sell this deal. And listen, I know that you want to, this is called painting the picture. I know that you want to move on, right? I know you want to move to your next destination. I know you want to have some money in your pocket. And I know you're looking for that reset, right? So now I'm painting the picture, right? And I want to be here to facilitate all that for you. And I want to do it here in the next week or two.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the absolute best that you can do for me?
Yep.
You know what, Carlos? 175 is ridiculous. I need to be at 220.
Yep.
They brought me all the way up to 220. Okay. Now, is this still a good deal for us?
It looks like a good deal.
Remember, I was at 233.5 with a $20,000 wholesale fee. Now I just earned another 13.5 because I threw a price anchor in there. So now what is that? We're at $33,500. I just made my 20K wholesale fee into 33.5.
Right.
Because I worked it the right way. I took the time. I went through my internal process of how I was going to work this deal. If you have to do that every single time, or else you're not going to get these results.
What happens if you're not the only one negotiating with the seller? They've got other offers.
Again, I'm going to go back to this rapport building right here.
It.
Honesty, right? Transparency, trust, connection, right? You're probably, you know what, Carlos? You know, at 220, you know, that's $5,000 more than the next guy wanted to give me. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You start getting all that. Or if you're not there yet and they trust you, you know they're going to tell you.
Right. Now, what happens if you can't build rapport? They're just drivers, right? They're just a driver.
They're red
personality.
personalities.
Yes, exactly. They're just, no, I'm not giving it.
You know, at that point.
Do you do those deals?
Well, I mean, you try.
Right.
You should take a shot.
Yeah.
You should at least put out an offer range out there, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Seller, we're between 175 and 220.
Yeah.
Is that something that would work for you? Right? They don't like the BS. They're not looking for emotional connection.
Yeah.
Right? They have a bottom number
Yep.
in their mind that they're willing. That's the good thing about drivers too, though. Right? They're very direct and they don't waste time.
Right.
If they have a bottom number and there's a deal to be made, it's going to get done.
Yeah.
We've dealt with a lot of drivers, right? Now, number 4, we haven't got to number 4. Okay.
And real quick, as you're writing that, so what I look at, Carlos, typically for just setting a low anchor, if it's 250, if I look at Zillow, Redfin, Realtor, this is just broad strokes. And I take all 3 of those numbers, I add them together, divide by 3 to get a median based on a internet appraisal, right?
Yeah.
It's like just a kind of a rough number. If it's above 250, I want to be at about 50%. Which is an exact line with where you're at for an anchor. If it's between 100 and 250, I go lower because the cost to fix up a property eats up the percentages, 35%. And if it's 100,000, if totally fixed up, looking beautiful, it's 100,000. I'm at 10%.
Okay.
If it needs work.
Great.
Right.
Okay.
This is kind of the range that really helps to set a low anchor.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Now, see how this is 1, 2, 3, 4?
Yeah.
Right. What does it mean, the close? Well, here's what happens with a lot of real estate wholesalers out there, right? They get stuck on third base, right? They get stuck on third base. All right, Brent, I am so excited to do this. When do you want to do it? Oh, Carlos, just call me back Friday. Right? Time kills all deals,
baby. That's
right?
it. Yeah.
Call me back Friday.
Yeah.
Let's reconvene on Friday. No. Right? When you go through all this and things are ready to roll, you better be ready to close this thing. You better be ready to run all the way home, right? Yeah. Well, Brent, why don't we do this? Are you near a computer? Yeah, I'm near a computer. Okay, great. I am going to send over the written offer, not the contract, which is, it sounds like I'm going to jail, binding contract, right? Yep. I'm going to send over the written offer. I want to break that down for you just in case you have any questions, right? Can we go through it right now? Or, are you good for that?
Yeah.
Right? Sure, why not, right? So you want to get them to the contract, the written offer, right? You want to get them to the written offer. You want to walk them through and you want to get them to sign.
Yeah.
None of this matters if they do not sign.
Right.
And if they don't sign, someone else might come in and scoop that up.
For sure.
You did all this work, right? You put it on a platter. Somebody came in, offered $1,000, $2,500 more, but they were able to say they were closers.
Yeah.
They were ready to close this thing. They didn't wait around until Friday at lunch or whatever until they came back from vacation. You want to be as gracefully aggressive as possible to get this thing signed.
Yep.
So those are 4 quick steps that anybody can use.
Well, and I feel once you go through these 3 steps, the close should be the easiest part. The close should be a natural progression of what you've done here because you've already gone through this and you get advanced agreements before you get to the the Is there anything stopping us from doing business?
Pre-commitments and advance agreements, absolutely.
Is there anything stopping us from doing business today? Is there anybody else that you need their opinion on this?
You the decision maker.
You call it an offer. Jerry Norton has put it in her head to call it an agreement. Agreements feel better than contract, right? Is there anything stopping us from moving forward and signing the agreement, right? And they go, no. Okay, great. If there is, then you've got some objections. Now you got to go back in. Now you understand what the process is, and you just try to pull it back to what is their goal with the property.
That's right.
What is your goal? Do you want speed and convenience?
That's right. Most people do.
Right. Most of the people we're talking to.
That's right.
Most of the people that are going through this process here, they want the speed and convenience. And I think that's really what screws up realtors when they don't understand how we get these deals and they don't understand and they think it's like equity stripping or something like that, where they're like, oh, if they would have put it on the market, they could have got so much more. Yeah, but they didn't want the inconvenience of putting it on the market.
Yeah.
There has to be other options for people other than just putting it on the market.
100%.
They know they can get more money. We tell them they can get more money if they put it on the market.
Yeah.
100%. They don't want people coming to their house. They don't want people their home blasted on every for a property website alive. They don't want any of these things. They want a quick speed and convenience, and they're willing to trade price for it.
I would say 99% of the time that's what people want.
Yeah.
And that's where society's headed. Right.
Well, especially if these properties need significant investment to get the top value.
That's right.
Because if you don't have, I'm telling you, you put a property on the market right now in this boring ass market, it's sitting on the market for 6 months. If it is not the most pristine, almost HGTV, new home staged house. Most people don't have those houses.
So 6 months ago, you had to be either the cheapest or the nicest. Now, you have to be a little bit of both.
You have to be both.
That's right.
All right, so we've got the deal.
Yep.
It's 2,000 miles away. It's 200 miles away. How do we find the buyer? How do we sell it?
Oh, well, let's see here. I very, very frequently use Investor Lift.
Okay.
We use Investor Lift.
Yeah.
Right. That takes a lot of the legwork for us.
Sure.
Has all the buyers. It has score. Buyer scoring, how serious they are, how reliable they are. Yep. I've never used Investor Base.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
But Investor Lift, we've been using that since 2019.
This is more of a marketplace, which is phenomenal.
Yep.
This is more of a list of buyers. So it's a totally different resource.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. So, with this here, what I would do, right?
Let me just give you the blue.
Yeah.
I'll take the black.
So if you're gonna get a list of buyers, right? Now you got names and phone numbers, right? You got names and phone numbers.
Yep.
Either you got to do it yourself or you hire a virtual assistant, a VA. Give them a script, right? I know that I have it's called a cash buyer script, right? It's a very basic script with like 5 to 10 questions. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And get them to do all the legwork. Once they do all the legwork there, then they put it into your CRM as buyers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like go ahead and make sure that you filter them out first. Make sure, hey, some buyers may not be buying anymore, right? Some people are maybe losing their tail off or whatever. So once either you, right, we'll put you or your virtual assistant goes through this script and people, hey, yeah, I do buy in that area. I'm ready for more. What do you got? Then you put them into that CRM, and then now you got yourself some reliable buyers in that area, right?
Yep.
Or like you said, you can just blast it on Investor Lift, right? And then the bidding comes in, and everybody wants to walk it. Everybody, if it's a good deal, you're gonna know within the first like 10 minutes.
Yep.
Right.
Oh,
if it's a good deal, you're gonna know very quickly.
Yeah. People will blow.
So on this, like I said, the disposition process, that's what you do. Here's what I'll tell you, right? A good deal, you can always find a buyer if it's a good deal. It's the deals that you locked up too high. It's the deals that are in the middle of nowhere. Those are the deals that people struggle with. Right. Yeah. A good deal is not hard to move. Shoot, you can go to freaking Facebook and sell this damn deal. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You can go to one of the Facebook real estate groups and sell the damn deal. Now, if you're going to go to Facebook, a Facebook real estate group, don't put down the exact address. Like maybe put the picture of the front of the house.
Why, Carlos?
And because you got a bunch of nasty people out there that will go behind your back and, hey, Mr. Seller, did you know Brent's over here marketing your property? Oh, he's giving you $250. I can give you $275. And then that creates a lot of friction and a lot of unnecessary stress.
The seller to breach a contract in most states.
That's right. Yeah. So, make sure if you're going to go anywhere public with it, right, outside of like some of these trusted platforms, make sure that you just put a picture and a zip code.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Love it. And so you've got your buyers, you're putting it out there. And how do you know which title company to work with in these different markets?
That's another. So when you're setting up,
or closing,
when you're setting up infrastructure, right? That's what you have to set up. Let me erase this here.
Yeah.
Yep. So if you're going to set up infrastructure, I mean, you're looking for a couple of things. You're looking for a investor friendly title company, right?
Yep.
Preferably title companies that have obviously experience with wholesaling, right? Title company. Same thing when with the attorney in states, attorney in state. Is it attorney in state?
Just attorney states.
Attorney states, right? Yeah, same thing, right? You gotta have they work with with investors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. You'll get discounts. Your end buyer will get discounts, etc. They know what they're doing. You're not gonna freak them out. So this is part of your infrastructure here, right? You gotta, and sometimes that takes a little bit of dialing. Or sometimes that takes a little bit of going out to Facebook or some other people in the space or hitting you up. Hey, Brent, do you know of a good title company in Texas? Right? Yeah. Referrals help a lot. Right? So it's again, a lot of this stuff just takes a little bit of legwork. That's it. Right? Other thing that you might want to look into is boots on the ground. Right? Just in case. Now, most people are operating digitally. Right, DocuSign and pictures and things like that. Back when I barely started doing virtual wholesaling in 2016, I used to have to sometimes drive or fly to Vegas because I didn't have boots on the ground. You know what I mean? And I don't know who to trust. Right. So how do you find boots on the ground? There's WeGoLook.com. There's 123notary.com. right? There's what about, if you're part of a community, do you have any trustworthy individuals that you can send over, right? This is just in case the seller needs to see someone in person, especially with the older crowd, right? The older folks that are selling a property, they don't want to do anything over the phone or do over DocuSign. They want a physical contract, right? And they want you to show up. So sometimes it's good to send over some polos representing your company, so that there's more trust when they show up to the door.
Awesome.
So these are just some things that you got to set up as an infrastructure. Obviously, you want to set up buyers, which you already spoke about, right? These are just part of the infrastructure work that you gotta dial in. Once you're dialed in, then you can do transactions there over and over and over. You know what I mean?
So the big question always is, Carlos, do you find the buyers first or the deals first?
I've never been a find the buyers first. I've never been and I know that's a thing because a lot of people feel more comfortable, right? But just because you think you found the buyer, like, dude, you're banking on someone that may not even buy the deal.
Right.
Most buyers, I don't want to say this, but it's true. Some buyers are liars. Right.
Sure.
Oh yeah, find me a deal.
Yeah.
And especially if you're a junior in the space, if you're a puppy, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes the wrong buyer can just fully take advantage of you, man. He can take you to the cleaners, right?
Well, I was what we call a CBE, a cash buyer employee, for a while, to Chris Iman and to some other buyers around town that were just, and Jamil, and just selling the deals to the same people over and over. And I was averaging 12K.
Yeah.
As soon as I opened it up, Carlos, I started averaging 25.
That's right.
And that is the truth.
That's right.
But, listen, if it's your first few deals and you need somebody to underwrite it and you need some help in those markets and you don't really understand it and you can really trust somebody, as long as they're communicating with you, I think that's cool. But I have the same philosophy as you. If I have a smoking deal, it's like and I say this crudely, but you don't have to be a good salesman to sell cocaine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like people just want cocaine.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like these deals are cocaine for people. For investors, it's just something that they really want. And so you don't really have to. It's either a deal or not a deal, and you're going to know real fast.
If you got a deal, you will not have a hard time finding a buyer.
That's right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. There you go. So
let's get back to here and see what we got. Here we go. Awesome. Jeez, look at this. All right, guys. If you have any questions, it looks like we have a few questions here that we'll go through, and we'll rock and roll. So Jared asks, hey, Brent, I'm looking at a Florida land deal. You do any land deals, Carlos? No,
I haven't done land deals. No,
not at all.
No.
All right. And I have to buy myself, can't assign. Oh, really? Should I pay for due diligence like a survey, wetlands check or perk, or just buy cheap and let end buyer handle that? Yeah. I mean, listen, if the buyer is going to make their decision, Jared, based on those that due diligence, the surveys and the perk test, then you're going to have to do it. Unless it's just an absolutely just smoking hot deal, then you're going to have to do it.
Well, why don't you just put down some earnest money, right, and do a due diligence period? And when it comes to land, sometimes they'll let you have, a good amount of extensive time to figure it out.
Yep.
So put down the earnest money, buy yourself some time, and get to work.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Love it.
Yeah.
Randy asks, what's the best list to pull? You think it's the tax default?
Well, it's very limited though. Not everybody is, it's very limited to.
You mean it's a small list?
It's a small list.
Right.
I call pre-foreclosures, tax default, people that are behind on their bills, et cetera. The water shut off. You know what I mean? Any when the city red tags a bunch of properties, that's all like sprinkles on top of the big. See, this is what people don't understand. There's no magic list. Right. It's going to come down to your acquisition skill set.
Yeah.
Because everybody's hitting the same lists. Everybody's doing similar marketing, whether it's Google AdWords, whether it's Meta, whether it's PPL, whether it's direct mail or cold calling or text blasting or ringless voicemail or voice broadcast, whatever, or television, right?
Yeah.
Again, it's going to come down to, your operational processes in the back end. How efficient are you? how good is your acquisition skill set?
Yeah.
Right. I'll give you an example. Like my best guy right now, he's about his lead to contract conversion ratio with PPL is 9-1.
Wow.
9-1 is actually good.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah. So that means that the guy, I would put that guy up against just about anybody.
Who do you use for PPL?
Lead Zolo and property leads.
Yep. Cool. 9-1. What markets?
So the 9-1 is specifically from Lead Zolo.
Right.
Property leads right now is about 12-1.
Sure.
We're heavy in Texas and we're heavy in Arizona. We do have through Google AdWords our own campaigns. We do have Florida, North Carolina, Georgia, and I think it's Tennessee that we're doing with our own Google AdWords.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when it comes specifically to property leads and Lead Zolo, it's Texas and Arizona.
Got it. Love it. Dimitri just closed the deal. Got 2 deals signed today. Small 4K win and 1 medium-sized 24K win. Come on.
That's pretty good.
Dimitri lives in Belgium.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He lives in Belgium. He does this all in the middle of the night on one of these things. It's called a cell phone.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So the 4K, I consider that a base hit, right? Some of these, anything under 15 grand, I kind of consider it a base hit.
Yep.
Once we start getting into like the 20s and 30s, I would say like those are like doubles and triples, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Home runs are like 50K and above, you know? That's a big one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Arturo Cortez asked, can we still text and how do you avoid TCPA law violations?
Personally, I stopped texting after a pretty big lawsuit that we went through from 2018 to 2021. Mm-hmm. I was just like, dude, you know what? I'm done with it. Yeah. You know, that lawsuit took a good amount of time and money. Yeah. 3 years, you're over 6 figures in attorney fees.
Oh yeah.
So I stopped texting back in 2021. I don't text blast at all.
Well, and attorneys literally target bigger companies. So if you're in a place where you're doing really well, they'll do research and then they'll wait and see if they get any complaints. And then if they do, boom, class action.
Wow.
Or whatever, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I just talked to my TCPA attorney, and TCPA lawsuits are up 35% from last month.
Wow.
It's up 114% from this time last year.
Well,
because NAR lawsuits. It's all because of the NAR lawsuits, Keller Williams, Coldwell Banker, and I think there was a couple others where, real estate agents, we've been taught forever to call expired, canceled, for sale by owner leads, and they really got slapped with some stuff. So it became a income channel for litigating attorneys.
Well, here's what I'll tell you. I just last year, fourth quarter of last year, I just dealt with a litigator. Okay, people need to know that there are people out there that that's their job. That's their profession.
That's their job.
Their profession is to catch you slipping. Yeah. This litigator out of North Carolina, he initially wanted $27,000. Right. Okay, we ended up settling
for a call.
Yeah, it was a phone call. Yeah. It was a phone call. Yeah. Don't want to disclose too much, right? But even though things are already, it was a phone call, and this guy wanted 27 grand. He ended up settling for 3,500. Yeah. So just keep that in mind, right? These people, these litigators, especially, let's be honest, right? A lot of the folks on here, a lot of people that are doing wholesale, they're not Open Door, they're not OfferPad, right? They're not Zillow, right? Yeah. They're small mom and pop shops, and you have to let folks know, like, you got to let these litigators know, like, dude, you're barking up the wrong tree. Right. I don't have millions of dollars on me. Like, I'm barely making it. I'm broke. Yeah. Right. What can we do here, dude? You see what I'm saying? Like, you got to work that out. That way, because every litigator comes into a case, right, thinking that they're going to make a lot of money. Like, this guy's like, give me 27 grand. We ended up telling him, look, dude, we're a small mom and pop shop. We're broke. Right. And then it was like,
obviously didn't
like, all right, I'll take the 3,500. And then boom, they signed a release form, and then everybody moved on.
So the question, just to put a bow on it, guys, a lot of people take the risk when they're starting out because there's not much to lose. If people try to, sue you and you don't have it, they kind of drop it and or settle for something lower. Once you get big, you have to. There is a transition, and we got a great question here by Audie Luck. There is a transition when you do have a bigger marketing budget to get inbound leads, because it's like stair steps, right, Carlos? It's hustle season. You're doing everything you can. You're knocking doors. You're making calls. You're making offers on the MLS. You're helping other people sell their deals. All those other things, and then you get to the point where you have a budget where people call you.
Yeah.
These PPL leads, you're not convincing anybody to sell their house.
No.
And
they're ready.
Our cash cycle, our cash conversion cycle that you talked about, which is critical for PPC leads, is 24 days. Yes.
See? Yeah.
24 days.
Ours is 28 days right now. Yeah.
It's nothing's like PP. I think all roads lead to PPC.
Yeah. Inbound is eventually, that's where you want to end up at. Inbound.
You have to.
You want to, and what is inbound? Well, at that point you have a nice healthy budget.
Yep.
Okay. And you are doing Meta, which is Facebook. You're doing Facebook. You're doing YouTube, right? You're doing Google AdWords, your own campaigns. You're doing PPL, but now that's what we have right now.
Yeah.
We have all inbound right now.
Yeah,
it's Meta.
Yeah.
I actually wrote I got a meeting with them at 1 today.
All we do
with my
is,
marketing team.
And Carlos, on the other side of this door, that whole other side of the building, I've got 5 pay-per-click guys from Google that I stole over
what is that
from
company
Google.
called? Is it Bolt Deals?
No, it's Talk to People.
It's I
transferred to Talk to People.
Are you like a PPL company now?
PPC.
You're a PPC company.
agency.
Okay, got it. All
so
right.
we drop in Google experts into people's businesses, and they run their accounts for them in their business.
That's amazing.
Right.
What is it, like a 10% management, 20% management fee?
It's a flat fee.
Got it. Okay. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So right now my Meta cost per lead is $58.26. And then my Google AdWord cost per lead is $190. And my my PPL is $250.
Yeah.
So those are my cost per leads right now with those channels.
I think PPL is a great training ground for PPC, because if you don't, you can have as many good leads as you want, but if you don't know how to convert, if you don't call a inbound lead, well, first when they call you, and you got to answer it live. In my opinion,
no matter what you're doing.
And if it's a PPL or PPC, and you get that text message on your phone, you got to call them in 30 seconds.
That's right. Or else they're calling the next person.
They're gone.
Yep. Yeah.
Jalabi99 says, what cash offer to give a pre-foreclosure lead in Oklahoma? Mortgage is $230,000. Mortgage balance is $140K. He's $15K in arrears. PITI is $1,200. Max reno is $10K. Cosmetic and ARV is $250K. So I don't.
Oh, I changed.
Wanted to give him $30K, $15K to catch up arrears, $15K in his pocket. Yeah, if you want to take that deal, if you want to own that deal, I think that you're feeling like it's a sub-2 type of deal, which could be interesting. I don't do sub-2 deals unless I'm going to keep them myself, because the risk of assigning that to somebody else and them not performing on that deal is, I don't want to look over my shoulder. I don't want to be married to a seller for years. I just don't. I just don't. That's just my strategy. People have made millions. They've made a fortune on owning sub-2s and selling sub-2s and doing that whole thing. So that's something that you have to do. It's got to be a gut instinct for you. But for us, I just don't mess with it. And if they really don't have, it didn't look like they had a tremendous amount of equity in that.
It said ARV was 250.
But he said the mortgage was
balance
230.
is 140 or something.
But 140, I don't understand. Maybe.
Oh, there it is.
Maybe they bought it for 230. See, it says mortgage is 230, but mortgage balance is 140. So whatever. Let's just say the mortgage balance is 155. I mean, basically, you can give them what they owe.
Yeah. At the end of the day,
and then just try to sell it to somebody.
Does it have enough equity for you to make something happen?
Right.
No.
Right. So offer there, I would be right at what they owe. If you want to do a sub-2, that's great. If it's something that you want to keep, if it's somebody that really knows sub-2s and really does a great job, and you want to kind of do a joint venture with them, do it. That's great. Audie says, you never talk about the hurdle on the 5K to 9K budget. I've been stuck here for 3 months. So if you have how do you go from 5 to 9,000 a month to 10,000 plus, Carlos?
I mean, what's your ROI? Right. Is it, this is what people don't understand. A lot of folks don't study their KPIs, right?
Yep.
So if I'm spending $10,000 a month and I'm making 60,000, that 10,000 is bringing me back 60,000 in gross revenue, right? Well, that means that every time that I spend $1, I'm getting 6 back. Right. See, people don't look at it that way. Remember, marketing is an investment, not an expense. Yeah. Right. So your budget should fluctuate based off your return. Sure. You know what I mean? Yep. And you should stay on top of that minimum on a weekly basis.
I'll tell you what takes you to that next level, Audie. And this has happened with every business that I've ever seen. A massive deal. You know what I mean? Yeah. When you close that 50K plus deal, you now have a budget and you have enough runway. And I think if you start out, if you start a new marketing channel, you should have at least 3 months set aside. Yeah. To keep that thing going, to really get it. And really, you don't know your true ROI until 6 months. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Because it's what people don't understand in real estate. This was taught to me, Carlos, day one at a real estate brokerage, Windermere Real Estate, got my license in 2004, hung my license in 2004. First broker meeting, he came in and Chad Schreiner, the broker, said, 70% of your income comes in 6 months. Wow. 6 months of the year. Wow. Right? Yeah. I'd be interested to see if you went and tracked your top 6 months, how much of your income is that? Makes Typically, sense. It's 70% of your income comes in 6 months. That means half the year is 30% of your income. This is where people start freaking out. Yeah. This is where people start, in that 70%, we're hiring acquisition managers and we're getting that call center and we're putting out all of these direct mail and we're juggling all of these different marketing channels. We're feeling on fire, right? And then that 30% comes and we're starts like, to get slow. Oh, it's that like entrepreneur, like back of your head, like I am an idiot. I am the dumbest dude alive. You know what I mean? No. And so you got to keep dry powder, especially in a boring market like we're in now.
Well, some folks, there's a guy named Joe Taylor up in Oregon, I believe. He shuts down his entire marketing for Q4. Yeah, yeah. And he's just like, okay, guys, it's like follow up. And here's the other thing that, people don't really take a look at is 48 to 50% of your deals are going to come from follow up. Right. Right. Oh yeah. Like there's
well, most of it if you're doing outbound. If you're doing outbound,
that's right. Yeah.
It's going to be probably all of them. Yeah. 90%. Like
the very rare do you get it on the first shot, call, right? Especially cold calling.
Right.
And, yeah.
Right.
That's right. So again, how many times are you actually following up with you paid for that lead. Example, like this person that's doing 5,000 and 9,000, right? Let's just say that they're doing PPL and they paid $250 for a lead specifically for their county, because that's it's a lot more when you're going county specific, right, instead of state. Yeah. Okay, you paid $250. You spoke to them one time, nothing happened. So what does that mean? Are you done? Are you moving on? When is the next time that you're gonna actually get around to making that call? I remember Alex Saenz back in the day. He used to have this thing called 10 Days of Hell, right, where for the first 10 days they would just blow that person up 3 to 5 times per day for 10 straight days.
We go 22 points of contact in the first 24 hours.
What does that mean?
So call, no answer, call, no answer, call, no answer, voicemail, text message, email. 30 minutes later, call, no answer, call, no answer, call, no answer. Same thing. Wow. 30 minutes later, call. Well, I mean, they will know. They're either going to block us, or they're going to answer the phone. We have almost 100% contact rate.
That's amazing.
But for the most part, because we get to these leads within 30 seconds, we get them in the first time.
That's
right. To go all the way through that process is a rarity. It's not, it's the exception, not the rule, for sure.
Well, remember, we also said not all leads are created equal, right? Oh, you're right. Yeah. An inbound lead that you paid hundreds of dollars for, you need to try to get to that in real time. Yeah. Right. You can't treat that lead like you would a cold call lead. A cold call lead comes into your CRM. There's a new lead there. There's a new lead notification, right? It might take you 5, 10, an hour to get to, oh, it's just a cold call lead. There's probably not a lot of motivation there. You know what I mean? It's not a hot lead. So that's why you got to know that anything that's inbound, it is the most competitive field to be in, right? But guess what? Your conversion there is going to be better than any other marketing channel. So you got to, not all leads are created equal. Get to that lead in real time.
One thing that I've been like standing on the top of the building, screaming into the void, I feel like, Carlos, because nobody does this. But I tell them, you will do 4 free deals if you do this. And I tell them, take your personal Facebook account, go friend request as many people in your in whatever market you're working, right? Go to the real estate groups, go to the mom groups, go to the this is where we love eating food groups, go to all those friend requests, everybody, and then just post 1 story a day. I buy houses, send me your deals. Well, every day. Just post every day. I buy houses. Get your friends up to 5,000. Post every single day. I buy houses. You will do 4 free deals in a year.
That's crazy.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I've done it.
I know. That's why I have that's why this is beautiful. Bro.
Yeah. I've done
you're
it.
like
through Instagram.
You had nothing.
Yeah.
You started real estate. You started documenting your journey.
Yeah.
You started putting out there real conviction for real estate and finding deals, and you going out there in your hustle season doing that.
Yeah.
And you were getting deals. People would send you deals.
Bro, I was when I started, I was doing I was printing black and white flyers.
Yeah.
Right, that I would create off of Microsoft Word, right, and put the little for sale picture in there, black and white. I would go to the parking lots of Home Depot, Walmart, Target, to the point where the security guards would just kick me out. I would put literally, I'd take the flyer right under windshield, boom, 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 windshield. By the time I left there, man, the reason why security guard would kick me out is because there was trash everywhere. You know what I mean? So, but again, this is what it
But
takes.
now you could just do it digitally.
Jared, back in like 2015, Jared Vidalis and I would walk Maryville and go door knocking. We would door knock and say, hey, it's Carlos Reyes, it's Jared. We have a project down the street, which we didn't. We have a project down the street. And, we're just stopping by to let everybody know that if you or anybody is interested in selling a property, we buy in cash, right? So even the door knocking back in the day was, was very fruitful. You know what I mean? So
that's a great strategy.
Yeah.
Especially for flippers.
Yeah. And
if you hired like 2 people to just door knock 100 houses around the deal.
I mean, the solar guys do it.
Right. Oh,
the roofers, the solar people, the pest control people, right? They go and door knock. They do 100 doors minimum, 80 to 100 doors every single. This is because I was in the solar space too, and that's a complete train wreck.
Right.
So they do 80 to 100 doors per day. Their goal is to have 5 sits where 5 people are like, okay, yeah, let's talk about it, right?
Yeah.
And then they get one deal.
What's the margin on it? 90%?
On solar?
Yeah.
No, actually, it's not.
Come on.
It's like 50.
Bro,
50 to 60%.
They put like 8 solar panels on for $60K. That's bananas.
But there's so many people that are getting paid. There's the lending, the lending company.
Yeah.
There's it's called the EPC, the install company.
Sure.
Right. And then there's you as a sales organization. So there's so many different moving parts, and everybody's trying to take a big chunk.
Right. Yeah. And it's still 50%.
It's a nightmare, by the way. Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. Love you guys, solar guys, but I would never be in the solar space ever again.
I love it.
Yeah.
Steps to postpone a foreclosure if there isn't enough time to wholesale by the date agreed. Have you ever had to postpone
We have. I mean, I remember us rushing down literally to stop a foreclosure. We had to be at the title company and we had to write a big fat check.
Right.
We had to write a big fat check. I believe that check just consisted of catching everything up.
Yeah, sure.
That was owed to the bank.
The arrears.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. If you have a purchase agreement, most of the time, listen, the banks don't want to foreclose. I was looking at this. Do you get the Cromford report?
Yeah. The Cromford market index.
Yeah. So 2010, September 2010, almost 5,100 properties sold at foreclosure auction. Last month, 54 total.
Wow.
Not 5,100, not 100, 54.
That's it.
Like, yes, we have 2 million houses in Maricopa County, Carlos. 54 actually went. They do not want to foreclose. Okay, they'll do everything to postpone it, to do loan modifications. Depends on the bank, but have a conversation with the trustee. If you're in a trustee state, if you're in a mortgage state, just talk to whoever's doing that through the judicial process. Talk to the courts and just say, hey, listen, I got a purchase agreement. I'll send it to you. We'd like to postpone this auction. Most of the time, they will do it.
Beautiful.
Yeah, most of the time they'll do it. Rain Dove says, any advice for speaking with cash buyers on the phone when you are doing cold outreach to build a buyer's list?
You know what? Do you have a cash buyer script?
Hey, well,
no, like
I mean, not like printed out.
Like buyers outreach.
Most of the time I go, hey, I got this phenomenal deal. You want to take a look at it?
Let me see if
the buyer's script.
If I still have one here, I can just send it over to you. It's very simple.
If you don't have a deal, Rain, Carlos is going to see if he's got his script here. But the script that we always use is, listen, I'm out there every single day knocking on doors, talking to property owners, and I find a lot of off-market deals. When I run across something like that, can I reach out to you?
There it is. There's a cash buyer script. I can email you that. It's very simple.
You can tell them it.
Yeah, it's like, hello, this is Brent with TTP. I'm giving you a call to see if you're still actively buying real estate investment properties. And then prospect says, yeah, sure. I'm interested. I'm still actively buying. Okay, great. Our company acquires off-market discounted properties on a consistent basis. I wanted to know if you wanted to be added to our VIP cash buyers list, right? Prospect's like, yeah, I'm interested. What info do you need from me, right? And then you say, all right, sounds great. Let us verify some of your information so we can add you to the list. What's the name of your company? What's your full name? What's a good email? What's a good phone number? Any specific type of property or investment you look for? It looks like we have all the information on our end. Thank you for your time today. We're looking forward to doing business with you soon. Boom. Very simple script.
Awesome.
So I'll email that to you.
Yeah, send that to me. Guys, we'll put it up in the comments, not in the chat here, the live chat. We'll put it in the comments.
What's your email, brother?
Brent at wholesalinginc.com.
Boom.
You got it.
And sent.
Jacob asks, any advice on having no sales skills and having an accent?
You know, I've had a client in Philadelphia who was of Asian descent.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And he was a great operator. His accent was just really heavy.
Yeah.
So the first thing we told him to do was to hire an acquisition rep. And the guy made like $60,000 the following month. So he was having a tough time.
Sure.
And once he hired that acquisition rep that had the sales skills, that had no accent, things started to move pretty quickly. So at that point, you know, you got a couple of choices, man. You just gotta, you gotta continue to try your absolute best, or, you know, maybe you hire a commission-only acquisition rep, you know, pay him 15, 20%. And have them, you know, you're gonna have to train them on the actual, you know, operating side of things, but you let him be the salesperson.
Yeah, and Jacob, listen, if you can get them to laugh and just like call it out. Hey, I've got this crazy accent. I know that it sounds, you know, like it's kind of hard to understand me, but I love buying houses. I'm so excited about buying houses, right? If you go with it and use it as a superpower, it'll actually keep them. Alejandra already put the cash in. How good is she? He sent it to my email. She already put it in.
Nice.
Alejandra is working.
Good stuff.
She's got a baby on her lap.
There you go.
And working from home, putting it in. Thank you, Alejandra.
Yeah.
Unless that was Matt. No. Okay, that was Alejandra. Yeah, you just call it out. Make it be your accent can be you know, something that sticks in their brain. Right? It could be a little sliver in their brain that they remember you because they remember the accent. But remember this, like real conviction is interpreted in any language, right? Like you can understand people that have real conviction. You can watch videos of people that are speaking in a totally different language and you just see it in their eyes and their body language and all those things. So use it as a strength. Or if you are terrible at sales, definitely find somebody that's not. All right. Hopefully you're good at other things and maybe you partner with somebody and or even better, hire.
That's right.
Yep. Alan, great to see you, Alan. There we go. Do we need to be as good looking as you guys to become killers in the space?
Oh man, that's love.
These guys are super
Thank you,
handsome.
brother.
You're messing around, Alan. Alan's like a former model. He's being ridiculous.
Wow.
Do you need to be? Oh no, here you go. What are keys to going over when having a team meetings? Going over KPIs. What KPIs are you tracking?
Man, so I like to. Like today, I'm going to meet with my marketing team. I'm going to go over marketing, spent, right? Marketing expenses. And then I'm going to go over cost per lead. I like to go over cost per lead on each one.
Yep.
Right. But here's a very important one that people don't look into: lead qualification ratio. Just because you got 100 leads from Facebook, how many of those were actually qualified leads, right?
Yep.
You want to be around 50%.
Yeah.
Right. I've been as low on a Facebook campaign as low as 18%. And that's when we're like, yo, dude, we got to change this up. We either got to change it to higher intent and more qualifiers so that, our cost per lead is going to be higher and we're going to have less volume. But guess what? We're going to be talking to the right people, right? So those are things that you want to go over. You definitely want to go over to your what is your lead to contract, conversion ratio. Example, in many cases, if you're just doing cold calling, right, and your lead to contract conversion ratio is about 45-1. Well, that's about industry standard. So nothing special there. You're not too bad. You're not too good. But if you're under 35-1, it's taking you less than 35 leads to get a contract. Guess what? You're doing pretty damn good, right? Same thing with digital leads, PPL or Google AdWords, right? If you're under 15-1, that's considered pretty damn good. If you're 12-1, that's great. If you're under 10-1, you're probably top 10% in the country. So these are all KPIs that you want to be going over with your team. What's another thing, right? Talk time, how many calls were made, how many conversations were had, how many offers were made, right? These are all important metrics that you want to go over with them.
Yeah, we track because we work locally here. We track, everybody puts in what's called an EOD, end of day report, which basically tracks how many calls did you make, how many conversations did you have, and how many appointments did you go on, and that really helps out. And obviously, how many of those that you put under that we're buying, that we put under contract. So that's what my acquisition team's looking at. My disposition is just, did we sell it and for how much? It's not a tremendous amount of tracking on that end. It's more on the bringing it inside.
Beautiful.
Yep. And last question from Israel. Is it worth it hiring virtual acquisition manager from overseas?
No.
Yeah. Thank you.
No. I've done it all.
There's a lot of it, guys. I'm telling you, we've been.
Yeah.
I started wholesaling in 2013. Started hiring. I got my first acquisition manager in 2016, and I've tried to do the virtual. I've tried to get really good talent, really great, doing it all. In my opinion, we work here, so we got to go on these appointments. We try to do it all from the office.
Yeah,
we were just getting beat like a drum, not going on appointments here in Arizona.
Yeah, I've tried it, and it looks like you save money, but it costs you so much opportunity.
Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, we got one more here. King Vengeance, aka Batman. Is it worth getting a real estate license? Pennsylvania just passed Act 52 requiring a license. Is there a way it can still do wholesaling? No, you got to get a license or partner with somebody that has a license. Yeah, but I would get a license. Like, guys, I think all of the states are going to require a license at some point. Now, it might be in 5 years, it might be in 10 years, but in 2019, when Illinois said you had to get a license, everybody goes, it's just Illinois. Now there's 21 states that have regulations. 21 states.
Wow.
Right?
No.
And it's going to be all of them. Maybe not. I think that there's, COVID really spiked up the stay at home, make calls, get deals, find wholesaling, do that business. Text message marketing really exploded the business. That made it a lot easier for people to find some opportunities and to text 300,000 people a day.
That's the problem, right?
Isn't that crazy?
We broke it, as an industry, right? We broke it. No, the coaches out there,
Yeah, I know.
the new wave of coaches that are focused not on people but on profit.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
they're think about it, right? Like even this like the national pay-per-click thing that, I mean, it's not just one, but there's everybody's doing it, right? So I don't want to single out any specific person out there, but anybody out there that's doing national PPC, to them, they don't care about the homeowner. You know, they don't care. They don't care about the homeowner. People are getting hurt, right? People are getting hurt, and that's what's causing a lot of this compliance and regulation to come into play, because there's enough people complaining. You know, hey, this guy, you know, he called me and he wanted and then I gave him the house, and then it didn't go as planned, and then I lost my house, and I'm now, you know, it's a lot of this. You know, we're not teaching integrity. We're not teaching, you know, ethics. We're not teaching, you know, do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. And that's why we're seeing 70, 80, 90% cancellation ratios out there across the country. Well, people are getting pissed off.
Well, the loudest are the realtors. The realtors are leading the legislation.
I saw that
to change the regulations.
Yeah, that's because they don't know how to get off-market deals, and it's pissing them off.
It's part
I'm just joking.
It's part that. It's also with new technologies that have come out, you can make a lot of sight unseen offers on MLS deals, and when you do that and you get it accepted, and the agent's like, I did my job, I sold this property, and then 99% of them cancel. The agents get super mad. And then they go, these guys are fake, these guys are scammers, these guys are doing whatever. And I really think that the technology for submitting blind offers to MLS deals, really, there's
AI now. There's
bananas.
There's CRMs that do it now, right? Yeah.
You like click a button and you can send 1,000 offers on the MLS. Like that's going to back in the day there, it was kind of guarded. There was a couple companies that did it okay, and it wasn't really that mainstream. And then some of these companies came out where you can just offer on every deal, and then there's coaching behind that, and there's money to be made behind that, which is fine. Like I respect the game. But that is the root cause of what these regulations are coming, because the agents are pissed off that wholesalers that aren't licensed, that have no code of ethics, that are sending in these essentially fake offers, and these wholesalers don't have the means to buy these properties, so it's really fraudulent offers. Because you can't say I am a buyer on a property and you don't have the ability to close. Which we talk about all the time on here. You have to have the ability to close. Fortunately, there's stuff called transactional funding.
That's right.
And private money lenders that it's a phone call. It's a conversation. You fill out a form. You get the ability to use those funds to make us real buyers. But if you have 100 properties under contract throughout the country or throughout a specific area, and you can't close on any of them, it's going to piss people off. They're going to get loud. They're going to go, and regulations are going to be changed, because
that's crazy.
Because one, the agents are pissed, but more importantly, the homeowners are pissed. Because they thought they sold their house.
Absolutely.
Carlos, you're the man. So great to have you on here. Got to have you on more often, huh? You're back at it. You've been screwing around for 3 years. You've been screwing around. He's back, baby.
I did it the hard way, man.
That's awesome. Guys, give some love for Carlos in the chat here as we close out. Come on in, guys. We'll say goodbye to everybody. What a great, great, great show we had today. Come on in. Come on in. We'll say goodbye. Come on, everybody that's here. Come on in. On behalf of Matt and Luke, popped in here, and Dennis and Anton and Carlos.
We got to get one of these.
And the little teleprompter here. Guys, we love you. We want you to go out there and win. We want you to take massive imperfect action. Remember, keep your house clean, protect your health, and increase your value to the world. You'll live a fantastic life. We love you. We'll see you next week. Bye.